Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a trained US government remote viewer. I have all the other psychic abilities that all human beings have. I have them very developed. I have a degree from the University of Miami, and I ran a very successful, pretty large business for the industry it was in for 30 years, and it continues today. I established very strong roots, and I'm very dedicated to what's the truth, which has basically cost me my social life, my entire life. So now we're into Revelations. So now I'm great, and I look great because when we weren't in Revelations, I just looked like a total misfit, or that maybe I was saying things that weren't true. The stuff that now we say, oh, the conspiracy was accurate. I was talking about that 30 and 40 years ago. But this is not about me. This is about my experience today and the maps that I drew as a consequence. I woke up, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning, and I could feel the earth moving. And I'm in Miami, we don't have earthquakes. But I kind of knew. I went, okay. When I woke up again, a couple hours later, there were it was a lot of noise outside, and there was fire trucks out there. And I'm not sure what it is that happened, but they were right behind my apartment. Coincidence. And before I got to bed, the earth moved again. So I didn't bother with my morning routine. I sat down at the computer. I got a message from the dolphins. This is the message. It's what's behind me, but I'm going to be putting it in front so that you can see it easily. This I wrote this morning. And thank God the dolphins gave us the mantra, which it turns out being the mantra for peace, which is basically an absence of fear and anger. Which brings me to the most important topic today, which is the weaponization of anger today. We're using the murder of that man. He sure does look sweet, probably angelic consciousness, and probably very aligned with the age of Aquarius. We're using his assassination, many people, as a way of venting the frustration that things are not as they should be, things are not as they want it. And that's a problem because there's too much frustration, anger, hate, desire to kill, and then desire to eat people. That's where we're at. And so you're giving people an excuse to collect all those frustrations, whether it's because they're in a limited job or their wife left them or they're not where they thought they would be. Those frustrations all get pooled into a vector. And then you have to have a target. So we're not going to be satisfied just with the man that they found and with all the question marks. FBI involved again. From within, I'm not sure that structure can be taken care of. I'm not sure that can happen, Trump. But you certainly know a lot more than I do, and you're certainly willing to go through an awful lot to guide us to a great place. But going back to the weaponization of the excess fire, which is a planetary issue, which if you have too much turns into hatred and wanting to kill and all the rest of that. We're not dealing with the root cause of the violence that is being released because people now have permission because there's something that was done that was god awful, and it was god awful, but it will be weaponized, and that's the problem. I think I saw the other day on Alex Jones when I was clicking through one of his many whatevers, and it had t-shirts that say holy war. I want to remind you that the Crusades, the holy war, if you actually remember what happened, you will get embarrassed. In the Crusades, The Vatican, the church, decided that the people in the East needed to be converted to Jesus, and they sent the knights over there. Well, it turned out in the Mideast, people didn't even know who Jesus was. And they were getting murdered because they wouldn't convert, but they didn't even know who Jesus was. And it was already all the way in the Mideast, and these crusaders were from Europe. We went over there, and that holy war with people who never saw a Bible, who don't know who Jesus Christ is, who weren't given the opportunity. Well, okay, we'll look it over and get back to you tomorrow. No, infidels. And then we wonder why they don't trust us. Does anybody remember that? I know I didn't get the information wrong. These are the types of things that when you widen your lens on history, things can make more sense. Such as, and I'm going to shift topics, but not really, we went back to look at Chicago to continue to clear underneath which there was this spiritual sewage. And then there was like a veil, something that wouldn't let us see that there was subspace under Chicago. We went and we cleaned it up. And there were a lot of spirits there because apparently, I believe there's several Indian tribes in that area. And they killed each other a lot. And those spirits did not go to the light, a lot of them, or enough of them. And they were creating a spiritual miasm underneath Chicago. We cleaned it. I can't tell you we cleaned it 1,000%, but we really cleaned it. We found the subspace, which the military says that's where the grays are. I have to try and remember the name of that book. I read about that in the 90s. It's underneath. When you think you've hit the bottom, like in your basement or in your energy system or in your liver or your heart, when you think that's it, this is the bottom of it, there's another space. And the military called it subspace. I only know that because I read it in a book written by somebody that was reading about psychic warriors and remote viewing decades ago. So separating the wheat from the chaff, this is interesting. Chicago, weaponization of anger, all that anger and all that stuff came from what was underneath the city of Chicago. Now, there should be a huge shift. And if there's not, then I need to go back and find out, did we maybe not clean up as much as we thought we had? Because there should be a huge shift in the crime rate in Chicago now that this work has been done and we made those discoveries. You know how they tell you, don't build on an Indian burial ground? Your life, that's it, it's over. Chicago was built on several Indian burial grounds. Okay. Back to the holy wars. Trump, are you gonna holy war? We were the bad guys in the last holy war. Are we going to be it again? Or are we going to keep our lens very small so that we can feel very righteous? I'm not talking about you, Trump. I'm saying people need to understand this. And Alex Jones maybe needs to do his history. I don't want him to get angry at me. I certainly don't want to become the target of anybody. But at this time, to start selling shirts that say Holy War is probably not very wise. And you would have to, Jesus had nothing to do with the Holy War. As I have said, Jesus has been used as a marketing tool. And I guess he's going to be used again, unless somebody makes people feel silly for considering we're going into a holy war. I don't even know how to... let me go over all the maps. And I'll just let them come up as they come up. So let's go this one first. The United States? No, Venezuela. Venezuela has the protection of the Galactic Federation. They also have purple spaceships. The purple is really indication of vibration, the highest level vibration. And rather than just being above Venezuela, they're like right on top of Venezuela, which is great. There is a spiraling counterclockwise, as you can see in red, which means like an anchoring of anger, but it seems to spin off into the air. It doesn't feel very important. And then Guyana is all full of red, and Guyana does not belong to Venezuela. But what I pointed out today, isn't Venezuela lucky that they didn't get what they wanted? Venezuela insists that Guyana is part of them. Well, if that were the case, and apparently it is not now, but Guyana would have taken down Venezuela's frequency. If you read what is behind me, I believe that we started a process today with the movement of Earth. And this is where, separating the wheat from the chaff, we will have people that will ascend even more and people that will just drop off into darkness. So hanging on to Guyana, if they had accomplished the incorporating Guyana, it would have lowered Venezuela's vibration because it's so dark. And I've said that for a long time. We went there to clear some things, what could be in the future the basis for violence. And we were told basically by the spirit guides just to get out of there, that there was no place for us to be. So it's got to be pretty dark. So here we go with the next map. This is Central and North America. Mexico looks great. It actually has even more pyramids. I'm telling you, Mexico and the United States are going to do a lot of good things together. Cuba has a spaceship that is of the highest order, purple. So does El Salvador. Now, I have been worried about El Salvador because you can't put that many bad people together, frustrate them by totally controlling their lives in that jail. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. I'm talking about the other dimensions. You cannot have that many people there, hundreds, if not thousands, I don't know how many people are there, right next to a volcano. This is like, it's certainly the law of attraction, but you don't want that volume. But anyway, regardless, there is a spaceship that is of the highest order. And you Guatemala and Honduras, spiraling of red into the land. I don't have anything on Costa Rica. And then Panama, I told you it's dark. Look at all that black magic. Colombia, also a anchoring of anger. They're having troubles with, I'm not exactly sure what. And then we have Latin America. We have this purple ripple effect from the bottom. I don't know what that means. Brazil has a spaceship of the highest vibration. And then you have all this spiraling of depression. And then in the center where Bolivia is, and Bolivia is a big black hole, what I sketched today was this is a spiraling of the energy of love. I don't get it. We saw Venezuela already, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. I'm not sure Ecuador. I'm not sure those X's. Peru is full of love. Who would have thought? But they're very dedicated to defending the planet from the bad ETs. And they're very grounded, and most of them are whale consciousness, which makes their life very difficult. Whale consciousness, the first animal God put on the planet, the first one, because of the stability that it gives the planet and human beings. Argentina, Uruguay, and also Chile, we have the Galactic Federation stabilizing. And then there's something going on at the bottom. But here's the trick. There's darkness where you have those purple spaceships, and then you have purple ripple. In the Pacific, that ripple was blue. What does that mean? I don't know, but I just wanted to point that out. I thought I had another one. No, I guess not. We did Mexico. Mexico looks great. So that is what I have. We are definitely at end times. We are at the end of end times. We are in the beginning of the golden age. I can feel a tremendous difference. It's very different. I have big issues still, but I can feel the difference. And what does this message mean that starts today with the movement? If you read my book, The Gods Speak, Dolphin Wisdom Revealed, the first few pages the dolphins told me in 1996 in the Miami Seaquarium about this time when there would be catastrophes and the world that we knew would just simply not exist, and that some people would ascend, and people would ascend in families. So you don't have to worry about your family. The family will have a vibration. So if you have a deadbeat son who all he does is drink and doesn't work, he's going to ascend or descend with you. Families will go together. And they said, the dolphins, not to consider the people that would get left behind with all the earth changes. So then maybe all the predictions that were made are going to end up being totally accurate. But then there's people that will be saved from that, which will make the other people totally accurate, because it is a separation of two vibrations, which two realities. And I'll give you an example. My logo is blue and white. And one day I noticed that my logo had a lot of gold around it. And it was the same logo in the same place. It wasn't like it was in a different atmosphere or a different paper or different. And I went, wow. And then when I came back later to my desk, I saw that it didn't have the gold anymore. And there's the whole gold and white dress. You're going to see the gold if that's your vibration, your frequency. And you're not going to see the gold, and it's not going to be there for you if you don't have that frequency. So let's put up the gold and white dress, and you can check where you're at. And then I'll continue to talk for another 90 minutes. I'm just joking. Here you go. Wow, it's very white and gold. The white is what's really shiny. So how do you see it? But what you need to know is you can take this dress and you can print it up and put it on your refrigerator and other places and look at it and see how you are doing that day. But if you have a rage attack, such as the weaponization of the rage, the legitimate rage, because of the assassination of Charlie, you reduce your vibration, such as when I first had that photograph, it was just wonderfully white. I mean, after all, I'm so spiritual. And then a couple of hours later, I walked by my desk. It wasn't white anymore. It was blue and bronze. And there was nobody in the house except me. And I was like, wait a second, wait. Well, what's going on here? And then I stopped to think and I went, yeah, okay, so I did have a rage attack, but I was right. But see, that's not the point. It's not the point whether you're right or not. And it was blue and bronze. Anyway, by that night or the next day, I did mantras and I centered myself, and I could see it in the white and the gold, not quite so shiny. So it's not that we create a reality in the sense that whatever our frequency or vibration is, that's where we're going to be at. It's like a place with different floors. If you have a low vibration and you get out of the elevator, you may be seeing, all this sewage from the plumbing, and then you go to the middle and then you may be seeing really nice things, and then you may go all the way to the top and you feel like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. It's you. All of that is available, all those different levels, but your frequency determines where you're going to come out in terms of those other dimensions, in terms of creations. They say that in India, I don't know why it's important to say this now, but in India, the real gurus do not let their followers do meditations, because you will meditate in the dimension of your vibration. And if you got a guru, it means that you're not happy with your vibration and you want to lift it. So maybe meditation is not what you should be doing. You should be spending the time purifying, which is what those gurus teach. I used to do meditations a lot, and I really enjoyed them, but I wasn't getting any place. There was an enjoyable process, and I would get information about the future, what could or Could not happen because the future is elastic and plastic. And then I finally said, you know what, this is great. I really like them, but I really want something that jettisons me to where I want to be, which is happier, cleaner, purified, more purified. So I don't know why I got off on the meditation. The whole thing has to do with your frequency. So Trump, I think there has to be the basis, the root cause, the driver of the level of rage, etc., that's going to play out has to do with the level, the imbalance of the elements, and of course the excess of the fire element. So the work really needs to be done there, because everybody's has a legitimate complaint. It's not, I mean, obviously the assassin did not, and violent people don't. But basically, everybody kind of thinks that they're right. And it is, at some level, they are, and then other levels, but more or less, they're not. The whole point is not that. The whole point is a frequency which can be shifted when you shift the elements, such as what we did in Chicago. Now, the word prayer, a lot of people won't use because it's too Christian, too Catholic. The word mantra, you have no problem with the people from the Mideast, from the people from China, from Russia, from the United States. Nobody has a problem with the word mantra. Nobody. So I would suggest the mantra, which is what the dolphin suggested, but to be gotten out to many, many, many people. And it is about hate and fear. When you have hate and fear, you don't have peace. There's too much hate and fear in this country. The fear with the whole immigrants and who's getting picked up, the fear of the Democrats that they lost and they're now poorly positioned, the hatred of what was done to the Republicans when they weren't in. Oh my God, there's 1,000 different ways. Anyway, I strongly suggest that somehow we figure out how to get this mantra to the masses. And I did write a book, which is up on Amazon. You know what? I took down the book. I took it down because I was angry. I'm not selling any. But if I put it up for free, I still wouldn't get a lot of movement because there's something very much diabolical that is stopping people from being able to see what it is that I have to offer. Even if it's free, it's funny. Even if it's free, they don't see it. And it's not that they're not trying to. So in my personal situation, I'm in a very good place. I don't feel good. I'm not happy. I'm not seeing anybody yet. My family, friends, whatever. I'm not getting paid. Court cases, what the government owes me, the contracts I should be getting. But I know that that's all going to happen, and not because I'm an optimist, because I'm not, but because I just know that's the path I'm on. It's been proven that I'm not crazy and that I have valuable, whatever. And as I want to remind you, and I told my followers, 8 weeks from the 7th of September, you will know whether you ascended or you descended, having to do with your vibration. You can't blame anybody or anything. So we're already in the process. I just would like for it to be less violent. And I think this is not good if we have people like Alex Jones declaring a holy war. What the hell is that all about? The first war was based on the Vatican that basically at this point everybody hates. And we're going to follow their lead? It's not making a lot of sense, but when people have too much fire, they don't make sense. By the way, what powers your cell phone and all Wi-Fi is microwave, and microwave X's out wisdom. So it's a big problem. Elon, we need to work on getting those proper frequencies out to the masses. If you can get Wi-Fi out to the masses, that means you understand the concepts, you have the equipment. I don't know the first thing. You can get these other frequencies out because they're frequencies. And I don't know that I told you. The frequency of marijuana is 420. And if you look it up in Google, the unweaponized Google, it is a frequency of harmony and peace. It's a frequency of the plant of marijuana, of cannabis, that has been a sacred food, considered a sacred food for 5,000 years by India, the Ayurvedic medicine. So we're putting together a Mantrista music video with that frequency and a little bit other music because it's not really so much fun to listen to. But I was shocked when I found out the description of the frequency. Because I said, why don't we try the frequency of marijuana? Being it the people are all fuddy-duddies, this is, and they believed the disinformation about marijuana for so long that we can't get them, whatever. I said, what's the frequency? And let's put something together and kind of hide it, whatever. Not hide it, we'd put it in our copy, and then when I read what the frequency brings in terms of the human mind, I went, wow. And by the way, AI is being controlled in Google, because if you look up the frequency in Google, now there's a lot of articles, but if you look it up in one of the main things at the top, the frequency 420 is considered very iffy. Totally the opposite of what people who work with frequencies put out there as to what that particular frequency brings. So Trump, if you can't legalize the cannabis quick enough, then let's do some loudspeakers in the big areas where there could be violence, and just put the frequency alone is not pleasant, but we actually put together already an audio for a couple of hours. And I'm joking and I'm not joking. If you guys, you're kind of scientist, which is not the kind of scientist that I am. If you manage to take a frequency from all the way up that God never intended to be near where we have our physical and energy bodies, and you brought it down and you are beaming it out to everybody to where you're making our kids all sick, then you can get that frequency of 420 and beam it out to everybody. And then just skip the whole. We got to get through the legislature, and we got some old fuddy-duddies there, and we got people that actually bought the disinformation and the lies and feels that this sacred plant is a tool of the devil. It's so funny. It's called a gateway drug. It's not a drug. It's a plant, like mustard comes from a plant. Okay? But what's so interesting is that marijuana lifts the veils between dimensions. So you see stuff that you couldn't see before, which would be really good for our medical doctors. The intuitive doctors are so much better to work with because they catch stuff without even having a lot of times to do tests that are invasive, whatever. So I'm going to stop talking. I got you the maps, and the earth moved twice. And remember that 9/20, 9 days after 9/11, I went into a panic attack because I could feel something big happening. And when I checked, there was a new fault line that formed underneath New York City due to the violence that Mother Earth had absorbed there because of what happened with 9/11. But it didn't absorb the violence of the people that attacked on 9/11. It absorbed the violence, the rage of the people that were attacked, New York City, Americans, the people that had companies in those, whatever. So I was able to feel it on 9/20. I said it in my social media, and I think it was on Univision News. October 20th, there was an earthquake, epicenter New York City. And I had said it would be between 4 and 6 weeks. And it happened. So when I feel stuff like this, because I've watched myself, I pay attention. And then I get up and the dolphins give this message. So I think we all need to pay attention. And as they say, it's not a question of running around and accusing and all the rest of that. Consolidating your position in a place that is not too hot. All you have to do is visualize ice cubes and igloos and cascading water. I'm going to put that, the problem with me putting music on these videos which get turned into a podcast, is that YouTube is going to take it down because it's not my music. Well, yeah, it is my music. I bought it. We have given you the documents from the US government, whatever, where you register it. And then 2 days later, they'll go, oh, you're right. We'll put it back up again. Too late. The train left the station. So we're not going to be doing the music. But you can do the mantra. Please, God, help us with our intention that there be a miraculous purification of the fear and hate. And thank you for joining me.